Lady Lorene, the Truckie Queen. Now, we were going to talk to Lorene, the Truckie Queen herself, but unfortunately there's been an illness in the family. But Tom Dawkins knows the work of Lady Lorene, the local legend here, who has worked from South Australia and has been, you have to say, a pioneer in the trucking industry. I'm surprised we don't know more about her, or she hasn't been an Australian story. Hello, Tom.
G'day, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, look, remarkable woman, isn't it? Just how did it come about that we saw Lady Lorene become a trucking queen?
She's always been a get-up-and-go sort of lady. She grew up at Mount Compass and was exposed to the land pretty well. Happened to marry a bloke called Mac from Ashbourne, who was a similar sort of spirit, get up and go. He was into his trucks, and they formed a pretty formidable team when they moved to Strathalbyn after they were married. And I guess it would have been pretty easy for Lorene to have stayed home. She was mother to 4 boys, no fewer than 4, but she took it upon herself to really take a hands-on role in their business, which consisted of a number of different sort of freight lines, but in particular the livestock stuff that she got into. So from sort of the late 70s, early 80s, she became a real fixture of the livestock sales scene in SA and livestock transport, and that's why she's been so well respected in those industries. But they're probably industries that everyday people probably don't get much exposure to.
It's great that you've been able to document this too, because it's a piece of history as well, because we see a lot of the Jeps Cross story in there as well, which is now, of course, is gone, hasn't it?
That's right. And yeah, I very much liked the history aspects to the project, because there's a hell of a lot of history in there about the changes in the transport industry, from moving stock on rail through to trucks, and the early trucks, which were smaller and a bit more cumbersome, and moving stock up and down what's now the South Eastern Freeway, going through all the various towns along the way. So there's been a tremendous change in that. It's also, it's a story that's got a fair bit of geography about it, because it goes from Mount Compass basically to Stratton. It touches on just about all parts of South Australia and plenty of stuff interstate. So I feel very privileged to have been able to tell that story, because it's one that should have been told, I think.
And you described the scene down there at Jeps Cross in those yards there. They had drovers there, didn't they? I mean, it was really a very important part of South Australia's rural heritage.
Absolutely, and those of us that had experienced that scene, and I did as a young boy, to think that was happening just north of the city is hard to fathom nowadays. But if people say Adelaide's a country town, well, that was proof that it was. It was an absolute community out there, very tightly knit, and Lorene would say that she was welcomed mostly into that scene, but she also had to prove herself, and as you get with every crowd, there were a few there that didn't think it was any place for a woman, and tested her mettle, but she's always proved herself in that regard.
And now the book itself has just been released, so people who want to know her and know her work can get it. But also, I think anyone else who wants to read about that aspect of South Australia and rural life in South Australia, and someone who's an inspiration, can check it out. Lady Lorene, the Truckie Queen, by Tom Dawkins. And Tom, it is sad that we wanted to actually speak to her, but as you say, her husband, who she worked with, and partner, is unwell at the moment.
Ian, I'm afraid that Max actually passed.
He's passed, hasn't he? I'm sorry.
Since we were probably last in contact. But I must say, there was a tremendous memorial service for him on Friday at Ashbourne at the golf club, which basically is adjacent to the old Whittam family farm. And Mac got to read the book. He was absolutely integral to the composition of the book, putting it together. He got to read the final copy, and didn't suffer for long. He had a stroke, and that knocked him out pretty well. So he went well, and there's a lot of history there that I certainly couldn't have recorded without his input. So we're all, very sad that he went, but very happy that we're able to get so much of Mac.
So it's a tribute. It's a tribute to both of them, and obviously now a memorial to Mac Whittam and also his wife Lorene. And look, thank you for recording this piece of South Australian history. And it's only recent history, but it does show how things have changed, haven't they? Often people say things don't change much in Adelaide. They certainly do. When you read about people trucking around animals to Jepp's Cross in the 70s and the 80s, right into the 90s.
Yeah, and I hope it appeals to people that have had an affinity with livestock and transport and the various regions. But I hope also it's an interesting read about those industries to people less familiar, because hopefully it's an insightful story for them and informs them a bit about a whole world that they probably rely on day to day, but don't think too much about.
How it gets from paddock to plate with Lady Lorene, the Truckie Queen. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Tom.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Tom Dawkins there, who worked as an editor of the Stock Journal and Stock and Land, paying tribute to one of the remarkable, inspiring rural legends in this state.